little bit about the philosophy behind the Ghetto Film School. You see it as being different from other nonprofits. For you, it's really about training people in filmmaking. Do I have that right?
Yes, it's an arts approach to education. So what we're trying to do is give people a background of cinema, a base to work from, a foundation, a very high expectation course of study. It's an adapted model of a course that I went through at USC in the Graduate Film School. Then we're also combining that with a business model. So people start the summer 9 weeks full-time. Everyone makes a 6-minute short themselves, soup to nuts. We have a screening at Lincoln Center in the fall, and then people go through Saturdays and after school learning about the industry, meeting different people in the business. And then in January, everyone writes a thesis script, which is slightly more advanced, using dialogue this time around, and we shoot that project out of the country. So we've had our students go to Paris, Germany, Mexico City. This year's group is going to shoot theirs in Rio de Janeiro. And when they come back from that, the following summer, everyone's placed in an internship with an industry partner. So the idea is to get people really immersed into the whole idea of filmmaking and storytelling. Whether or not they pursue that long term, we think they'll still have a lot of transferable skills and a really great experience. Travel, we help them get into college, really top schools, provide financial aid and support for that as well. So the idea is getting their stories heard, but also working in partnership with media and the film industry. I think a lot of times nonprofits are organized into a false dichotomy of good, bad, us, them, when in fact the students really want...
Assets-based and deficits-based, as I understand, a distinction you like to make.
Deficit-based is, I think, an easy route to get funding in the nonprofit world, especially if you're working in the Bronx.
What does that mean, deficits-based?
So, for example, Ghetto Film School, if it got funding for Department of Justice, it would be a violence prevention program. And the first time that we sat down with Nia and Alma, instead of talking to them about their ideas for stories and focusing on their talent and their skill, which they already come with, we would ask them questions about violence and, are their parents abusive, and really intrusive things. My background is in social work, so I know a lot about how these programs are structured. And I think it's very difficult to form a long-term relationship with people who want to be artists if you're basing it on something that is a cover for counseling or some other kind of deficit approach. And too often we see that in nonprofit funding and foundations who say it's an arts program, but it's really a therapeutic model or an intervention. And I think it feeds into a lot of larger things.
Your film is about to have a premiere. Can you talk a little bit about sort of how you got to the film, how you got to Uganda, and what the last year has been like?
Well, it all started last January when all the students at the Ghetto Film School began writing scripts, and pretty soon it was narrowed down to 3 scripts, and then the students chose 1 script, and after that I had to pitch for my position as director. And then once I was chosen
so what did you have to do that? I mean, that must have been, now you're what, 17?
Yes.
So at the time you were 16 and you were saying, I should direct this film. What was involved in that?
Well, at first I was very hesitant. I didn't want to pursue being the director at first, but I decided to after a while that it was a responsibility I felt like I could handle. And I needed to present a pitch. I had a big presentation describing my ideas for the film and pictures and just going real in depth about what my plans for the film would be. And I had to present it to the writer of the film and the staff. And after that, they let me know that I was chosen. It was between me and a couple other students that also pitched.
It's about a guy who gets bitten by a snake and has 24 hours to live. So basically he does whatever he feels like he should have done his whole life in 24 hours. He wants to break off his marriage with his wife. He has someone else that he loves. So basically he sits her down and tells her, I really don't love you too much. And then he goes to the real love of his life and tells her, I really want to be with you. He buys a suit. He buys a motorcycle. He quits his job and tells his boss how he really feels, which isn't too good. He basically tells him, you were a horrible boss. And from there, he kind of just takes in his last few hours.
Had you ever been to Africa before?
No, I had never been outside of the country before then.
We got to stop in Amsterdam, and we got to stop in Kenya. So we didn't get to sightsee, but we were in the airport, and you can kind of see the difference between, like, America and Amsterdam and Kenya and Uganda. So